Hey everyone, it's Scott from startmedia.com. Today we'll be covering the Sahifa theme developed by Tielabs. It is a premium theme found on Themeforest, and it includes a lot of functionality that you won't really find in many of the alternative themes that you find on the platform. I already went through and I installed the recommended plugins. They all look to be named after Takim, which is a review type plugin, and it's add-ons. And then it also came with Arcam_Light, which was another plugin that I already had installed when I activated the theme, and it's basically just a means of showing off your follow counts on various social network platforms. I also installed the demo data twice, admittedly, because nothing happened the first time, even though it specifically told me not to. I couldn't resist it. So the import process wasn't all that smooth, but other than that, it's a very interesting plugin, and it's a very interesting theme. So to start off, if you ever need to import the demo data, you can just do so by clicking over here, and then it's going to tell you specifically, only click it once and wait. I didn't do that, as we can see. And you import the demo data by clicking this button. Under there, then you have the theme settings. The theme settings is where you get the functionality of the theme. So there is a lot of options. I'm just going to go through them and briefly explain what they do. The theme layout changes the way that the theme imports on the front page. Framed basically adds a padding to the top in addition to the bottom and sides of the actual content. Boxed will move this content up to the top, as you can see here. And full makes it full width, which removes the background. Personally, I'm a fan of the full width kind of style, but if you need a background, then by all means go with either framed or boxed. Personally, I think framed kind of looks a little bit better and the overboxed. You then have the ability to add a favicon. A favicon is the little icon. In this case, it's a little tie thing that's at the top right. You can upload your custom one here. You can also continue to do it in the customizer. Custom gravatar, you include your custom gravatar for the site. So if you want to have a icon as opposed to the default Wapuu or whatever the comments are, if they're set to one of these blank guys, you can actually set your own gravatar by simply going in here. And I'm just going to put this video's PNG thing as it, and we're going to see if that works out for me. So we set our custom gravatar, and then this should start showing up for users on the front end for future comments. It should override it under settings and discussion. You set the custom gravatar here, and then we come over to here, and my little icon should start showing kind of. Looks like the code is indeed on there. It's just a little too big. So assuming that I picked an image of the correct dimensions, this would look right. You should do about a 60 by 60 or 96 by 96. You can then also upload icons for Apple devices on here. It's going to give you iPad Retinas, the iPhone Retinas, iPad, and regular iPhone. Then there's the time format. The time format either will include on the home page or anywhere where the publish date is included. It'll include it by X weeks ago, for instance. So it says 2 weeks ago, or it can do traditional. Traditional is just the date, and it ends up falling back to date under a given time period, or you could just disable it altogether. You have the ability to enable a lightbox automatically for all images in your post, which is really useful. You can also enable arrows, which I'll just briefly illustrate by clicking on here and finding an image, and it looks like it's, let's just, in the post area content, I need to find an example of a working lightbox. So we're just going to tap on this review and see if I can get it to illustrate. Looks like it's kind of not, there it goes. So you click on here and now you've got the lightbox functionality. So very interesting. It works more or less. It's just only under certain conditions. You then could choose the breadcrumbs and the breadcrumb delimiter, which is just the slash here. The breadcrumbs are automatically added, and if you have Yoast SEO installed, it should override them with the Yoast SEO ones. Then you can paste header and footer code here. Under the header settings, you get the ability to put your logo and a bunch of logo functionality with margins around the logo, so on and so forth. We're not going to pay too much attention to it because it's just the logo. The top menu settings allows you to enable the top menu, which is this bar. You can then choose to include today's date if you wish. I will show you what that looks like. If you enable today's date, it'll append it on the far left, and it will give today's date and the month and the year. So you can also include to show the search. If you choose the enable the search button, you can also choose to enable the sub option of a live search. So if I type in Mac and it looks, then it automatically does a live preview of the results. And if you want to view all results and you click that, it'll simply take you to the search results page. As you can see, it's showing the nice little stars for the Apple iMac 5K Retina review. And it includes the markup here. Under social icons, it'll also show your social icons in the top header. You will be able to set the social icons under the social networking tab, which we'll get to later. And then the responsive mobile settings. The responsive mobile menu is actually really nice in this theme. So what it does is it converts it to the hamburger style menu that everybody's come to know. And you can enable the mobile menu here. When you tap it, it will show the search bar. It will show the social media icons, and then it will show you the main menu navigation. You can also choose to show the top menu items in the mobile menu, and it will appear underneath this menu, but I don't recommend it. I frankly feel like it's too much information with those additional items. And then you can also choose to enable mobile menu icons. If you're curious of what that does, these little icons that are here for the menu on desktop will simply be removed except the home one. You can then choose to enable the breaking news functionality. Breaking news is just this nice little ticker that's at the top. It'll show you the latest post. You can choose the animation to be either a ticker, a slide, or a fade in effect. And if you do the ticker, what will happen is it will write it out from left to right, and then it will do it again for the next one, and so on and so forth. The slide functionality, as it mentions, will act more like a slider, and we'll wait for the hello world one to go, and then it kind of slides in. I'm not really a huge fan of animations for this, and I really only recommend you showing it for the home page where you're typically going to want to show these off, but otherwise it works out of the box and without really any issue. You could change the animation speed in milliseconds. Remember, every 1,000 milliseconds is going to be an actual second, so time between the fades is 3,500 milliseconds, so 3.5 seconds of that text being on the home screen. You can choose for it to either pulling post by categories, tags, or you can just choose to write custom text in a link. Not really anything too drastic there. The archive settings is where you get to start customizing your archives to look a little bit more unique than they might already be. So first off, what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up a category. I'm going to open up the tech category, and I'm going to explain some things about this theme. Every category can have a unique layout. You can also choose to give it a unique sidebar. Now, the settings in here are the default layout information, so at least under the default layout settings, and then to the category settings as well. By default, it is this simple list format that everybody knows and everybody's accustomed with, and it's the most neutral option. But let's say that I want to change this one to specifically be this big image. We're going to do that real quick, and I'm going to click View Category. Now this category is larger post with a very functional large header image. It shows the metadata as I expect. And if I go to a different category, let's say I go to, let's see if this one is different. Videos, yep. So if I go to the videos one, it still looks normal. So the best thing is it allows you to have functionality within categories to give them unique styles. There's also additional things that you can do. You can set up a custom category logo. Custom category logos allow you to have unique logos for different types of content. So for instance, let's go to this videos one, and I'm going to edit this category, and I'm going to give it a custom logo. I'm going to click enable, and then I'm going to choose the logo, and I'm going to choose this video one that was pre-loaded into the theme, but it didn't look like it was used. Now that I've done that, I can view the category again, and now there's a custom logo for the post, for the category archive. And what's great is it also carries into any post that also has that category. So that way you can have almost like a mini site where content is structured around categories, and the different categories are almost landing pages in themselves, and that way you can have unique design elements. You can also give them different sidebars as you need, which allows you to further customize your different categories and content types. You can change additional items such as the category style, the main color. If I want it to be like a green, I'm just going to set it to a green. That's a black. I wasn't even close. So we're going to go back to this videos, for instance, and you're going to see what I mean. Now this read more button and all this is turned green, and if I come back to this, it's going to do the same thing. So you can truly make your different categories and appeal to different styles that you're wanting to strive for. So very awesome functionality. I love themes that allow you to go to this in depth in customizing of your different category types, because content is almost always going to be around your categories. You can also choose to enable share buttons and extra meta here. I wouldn't really worry too much about it. The default is just fine. Tag pages, you can customize your tags and include tag description. I typically recommend including the tag description because if you've gone through the process of writing one, you'll want to show it. And then your author pages and so on and so forth. One thing about the author pages is you can make it look more like an author archive if you change the layout to the final option. And now it looks like it's more of a author archive type page, and your user description will also appear here if you've written one. So really awesome settings on the themes part. Under the post settings menu, you get to modify some post settings that are unique to it. So you can show the featured image by default, which I typically recommend you do. You can enable open graph meta. If you have a SEO plugin installed, it's already going to import that data and show it. I recommend you disable this option. Under the reading position indicator, you can enable an indicator, which I'll show you what that does. It's a little bit confusing at first, but when you enable this, you can see that I have a little bar that's now stretching across the screen. This is the indicator to show you how far they're progressing through the article. It's basically just a feedback to let them know how far they are in the post. You can choose to enable or disable any post meta that you wish. You can choose to enable any share buttons or disable them or add them to different sections. One thing that's clearly incorrect is it still includes the stumble upon button, and stumble upon no longer exists as a service. That should be disabled. The theme has been updated fairly recently too, so I'm surprised that it hasn't had this functionality removed. And you can choose the different styling as well. Related posts, you can include the related post section, and you can select how many posts you wish to show. You can either choose to show them in the post area content, which will show up here on the top right, or you can choose to show it below. Typically, I recommend showing it in whichever spot really that you're comfortable with. Showing it up here is great for longer form posts. Showing it at the bottom is great for a generic catch-all. There's just not enough content to fit. The query type allows you to select the type of content that you're importing. One thing that you have to understand is this is basically just going to pull in the most recent posts from whichever section you choose. Typically, categories are your best option. You can also do the fly check also box, which what this will do is it'll fly in a box on the far right, and it'll send you another post that is saying, hey, you should check this out. We're going to close some of these tabs and look at this. jQuery comment settings will allow a comment validation, which will just give the user a feedback about the comment that they're writing to make sure that it was submitted. Default sidebar position, you can either choose left or right. In the sticky sidebars, you can enable it or disable it on specific posts. If you want to add additional sidebars, which we brought up, and you'd be able to modify them under the widgets, you can only add them in the themes section. So I'm going to call this one video. Maybe I should spell it correctly. So if I add this sidebar, I should now be able to go to my widgets area, and now I should have the ability to modify this sidebar. In principle, at least, it looks like I am not getting, there might be a variable in the back end might have a cached translate option. No, it just didn't add. I forgot to hit the save button. So now if I go to the widgets area, settings and video option. So now I could set this video either on a specific post, and there are a lot of post options, a lot of them, or I could do so on the category that I wanted, like for the videos one that I did over here. And I could edit the category, and then I could set the custom sidebar to video, and now my video post will have a unique sidebar that appears not only in the category archive, but on the post itself. I can enable the same option. Very awesome functionality. You could choose to enable a different sidebar for the general content types here as well. Footer settings allows you to modify the footer. You can enable the go to top button, which I will show you. Go to top is a very simple functionality found in most themes. It's just this little button that's here. Depending on what your goal is for the footer, you can either enable or disable the option. You also have the ability to enable or disable the social icons. I recommend you leave them enabled in the footer. The footer widgets section, you can choose to show how many widgets in the different formats. This is a 25x4 split, a 25-25-50 split, so on and so forth. So it gives you a lot of functionality in customizability for your footer section. The copyright text will allow you, the text 1 appears on the far left and text 2 appears on the far right. You can choose, if you import the year, it will automatically update every year that the server strikes over. So as soon as 2021 rolls over, it'll automatically update that, so you never have to do it. Great functionality. So many people just don't update it. I've seen 2016 still out there. Footer text 2, it'll allow you to include the text that appears over here on the far right. By default is powered by WordPress, and then it includes a link to their website. I recommend you remove their link because you don't need to promote their service or their website. Ad settings. So the ad setting allows you to have a lot of functionality for different ad placements areas. By default, you can enable a background ads, which is basically just a background image and then a link that you paste on there. So if you've created a background image that you're trying to drive users to click on, this is where you'll set this up. Top banner area will be the banner that appears up here on the far right. You can either do a custom code or an image ad with a link. Pretty much all of these have the exact same options. It's just different areas where it'll show. The bottom banner area will appear right above the footer. The below header banner will actually appear right here, just about, right above where this white space is. The above article banner will appear above the article content. The below article banner will appear below the article content. The article content starts in basically everything past the meta, and then everything before the share buttons. Styling allows you to just customize some of the general styling of the theme and the content that it's in. You don't really need to mess with this too much, depending after you've set it up. You can choose to enable a dark mode, which I think looks really awesome. When you enable dark mode, you get a nice completely inverted styling. Everything is dark and the main color is still there. The colors that you set in the category will not be modified, but you can still modify the default theme color here. And you can also choose to enable a modern colored scroll bar, which the default scroll bar, as you can see, isn't very nice. Once you reload it, it really just changes the styling of the scroll bar. It doesn't do anything like smooth scrolling, which is good because I'm not really a big fan of smooth scrolling. By default, the theme also lazy loads images, which is great. This functionality should be enabled and kept on at all times. And you can apply category colors on news blocks. Background type, you can choose to either include a pattern from their pre-selected patterns here, or you can upload your own background image. And then you have a different large collection of functionality for modifying different colors throughout the theme settings here. Under typography, you can choose the character sets. Typically, it's always Latin by default. If you need to expand the character set of your fonts for a different language, you need to do so here. I'm not going to mess around too much with the fonts, but you can choose the font size, how bold it is, what type it is, and then you can modify it all here. I don't typically mess around with fonts too much because it gets you down to a very large rabbit hole of adding a lot of fonts. Translations allows you to modify and update translations in real time. So you can modify, say where it says blog archives, you can just change that to anything you wish, and this will automatically reflect on the front end for the entire website. Social networking allows you to include links to your various social networks here. You can also change the You can also change the URL to your feed. So if you have a custom feed URL, maybe use FeedBurner or another alternative, you can include it here. And if you want to enable a custom social network, including a font awesome icon, the title that you want to use, and then the URL of where it should go, and then you can include the color. The advanced section is mostly just diagnostic features. There's one cool feature where you can enable the logo for the WordPress admin login, which I recommend you do just so it gives your admin panel a bit of unique flair. Then you can disable RCam Lite. If you're not using it, you can just turn it off and it'll go away forever. You can notify on theme updates, and then you can disable the responsiveness, both of which you should really never do. So I've disabled RCam because I said I wasn't using it, and because I did that, if I reload this, it disappears on the far right. If you are using it, make sure that you leave it enabled. So what are my thoughts on the theme? The theme is still really good. In 2020, it still has a lot of functionality. It allows a good degree of customizability, especially on your posts and pages. If you want to build complex pages like your homepage, you can easily do so through the integrated builder that they have. So the page builder is basically just a collection of their pre-made little blocks, and you basically just drag them to where you want them. It's not so in-depth that it becomes complicated and taxing for you to do, but it's also not so limited that you can't come up with custom designs so you don't look like everybody else. The flexibility with the categories is one of my favorite features about the theme. You can easily have different styling for subcategories to create mini sites focused around topics and clustering. And the menu expandability is pretty awesome. You can choose your post, you can include mega menus where it will change, and it's fairly straightforward. The theme, I think, is around $50, right around on Themeforest usually, so it's a pretty good deal for the functionality you get. I see themes that charge a lot less, and you get a lot, they charge a lot more, and you get a lot less. In another video, I will be going into the optimization of this theme, so that way it'll load faster, and I'll be giving my thoughts and opinions in there, and I'll just be showing you how to improve its overall load time. If you have any questions, you can post them in the comments section below, and I'll try to help you out. I'll include a link to the theme to check it out also in the description below, so that way you can check it out and possibly buy it if you wish. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching, and goodbye.